chapter 21, verse 9 through 11. And also I need you to find Mark chapter 15, verse 13 through 14. And go to Matthew 21, verse 9 through 11. And then Matthew chapter 21, verse 9 through 11. And it reads, And when the multitudes that went before and that followed cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. And when he was come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. Now I need you to go over to Mark 15, verse 13 through 14. And you will find these words, and they cried out again, Crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why? What evil had he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, Crucify him. Amen. You may be seated. I want to talk on this thought, when the crowd calls your name. Amen. When the crowd calls your name. You know, all of us, whether we be truthful about it or not, love it when somebody is praising our name. Right. Amen. We try to find this humble approach to try to act like we talking it down, but on the inside we just jumping for joy and tickled to death that somebody patting us on the back and telling us how good we are, how good we look, they like what we got on, you got the best house, nice car, your children is this and that. We love when the crowd calls our name. We love when people speak well and highly of us. And yet, in our own way, we try to play it down. Even get to the point where we would tell folks, well, you know, I really ain't nothing. It's really by the grace of God. Now, we say the right things. But deep down on the inside, you eating that praise up. The truth of the matter is, if that same person was to turn around and say something negative about you, you'll see another side of you come out. So you can't say that the praise of people don't affect you. Because if you don't get it, then you're complaining about somebody being ungrateful. Have you ever did anything for somebody and they never said thank you? Now you was joyful about doing it, but because they didn't say thank you, you got mad, and then you start talking about, I'll never do that again. They gonna need me again and I ain't doing nothing. Now all of your good work is gone for naught. All because you got caught up that they didn't give you no praise. Because they didn't say thank you. Now, don't get me wrong. We ought to say thank you when somebody do something for us. But now, if they don't say thank you, remember the reason why you did it in the first place. You done it, I like to believe, because God put it on your heart to do it. But if you are giving people stuff and doing stuff for people just for them to say thank you or to call your name, then you need to get your stuff back. Amen. Because the only blessing that you will receive is what you're getting right there. While you standing up, smiling and rocking, while everybody patting you on the back, telling you how good you are, that's all you're going to get out of that deal. Right. So then the question comes, how do you feel when people praise you? Right. Do you feel important? Do you feel happy? Do you even feel successful? Among the various feelings you experience, you need to be very cautious. Because one of the weakest moments of a person's life is when somebody else is building them up. If you don't believe me, many of you read the story about Julius Caesar. He returned to Rome after a great victory, and he heard the crowds yelling his name and giving him the highest praise. But it is said that his attendant noticed that as he rode along, he waved to the crowd, but he wasn't smiling. He was kind of down in his spirit. And later the attendant asked him why he seemed so shallow as the crowd showered him with the wreaths and gifts with praise. And he responded and said, today the crowd will praise me. They'll raise me up high. But he said that tomorrow, that same crowd will hang me and scorn me. Right. Shortly later, Brutus and some of his associates stabbed Caesar to death. You have to be careful of who is praising you. Sometimes people praise you and talk about your goodness so that they can get closer to you. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Sometimes you say that that's my best friend. Have you ever wondered why your so-called best friend was so cool with you? Think about it. You ain't got much. Why are they trying to get up under you? Why are they trying to stay so close to you? That's my best friend. And some of us believe that our best friend would never do anything wrong to us. And I want you to understand something. I'm not trying to have you to go home and look at your best friend and ask them 1,000 questions, but you need to remember that your best friend is human. And your best friend, if they're not led by Jesus Christ, they have every opportunity to do you in. And only if walls could talk, you'll discover that your so-called best friend has sold you out before. Your best friend got a best friend. Amen? Look, how do you determine who's the best friend and who's just a friend? Some people say, well, your best friend, you can tell your closest secrets to. Don't answer. Because whatever you tell your so-called best friend, the moment they get mad at you, they're going to tell somebody else. And they say, that used to be my best friend, but let me tell you about them. And everything you ever said that's supposed to have been secret, somebody else know about it. But that was your best friend. And I discovered the only best friend that you and I could ever have is the man that died on Calvary. The same man that rode into Jerusalem on this donkey. The same man that they was yelling, Hosanna. They were lifting him up. But even Jesus had enough sense to look at them people in their uproar. Look right at the core of their heart. And he knew they don't care nothing about me. He knew that a few days later, the same people that's patting him on the back, that's laying their coats down and all this is going to say, kill him. So your best friend If it ain't Jesus, you don't have one. You need to understand, because some of you just come unglued when you find out your so-called best friend just hurt you. You couldn't believe they done that. Why not? Right. They're human. They're just like you. Right. And remember, birds of the same feather flock together. So if you ain't much and they hanging around you, they can't be much. In other words, both of you is in need of some serious help. Right. And if they ain't trying to reach Jesus, then how can they be your best friend? If you're trying to walk with Jesus and your so-called best friend is going the other way, how can they be your best friend? The Bible tells us we cannot love the world and love Jesus at the same time. We just can't do it. So we should never be consumed by the praise of men. There was a story that was told about this bullfrog. And many of you know what a bullfrog looked like, big old fat frog. There was these other frogs around the pad, but there was only one pad that looked so charming to all of the other frogs, but nobody would challenge the bullfrog. So what these other frogs do, they would come up and they would tell the bullfrog how good he was and how wonderful he was. Each time they told him, Sister Brooks, his head got bigger and bigger. They kept coming each day, telling him till they got to the point where they told him he couldn't handle it. He just blew up. And all they did was remove his remains off of the lily pad, and they got on there and had them a good old time. And you got to be careful when people blowing your head up, because you'll get so caught up here, they'll come underneath and take everything you got. Are y'all hearing me? Look here, sisters. Stop letting people tell you how good you look and all that and putting your man down. Because while you up here basking in your little glory, that same sister be walking arm in arm with your man down the street. And vice versa. It works both ways. You see, we can't handle people building us up. We can't handle it. It sounds good and we want it, but the truth of the matter is we can't handle it. Oh, we can't do it. And God knows we can't handle it. That's why many of us don't have the things that we want. But he gives us what we need. Amen. This text considers Jesus as he makes what has been called a triumphant entry into Jerusalem. Jesus had taught and healed for 3 years throughout the region. His reputation had spread from village to village. How many of you know that your reputation get there before you do? People know about you before you get there. If you don't believe me, just go somewhere. That's why folks be looking at you. They trying to size you up with their reputation. If the word got out that you was mean and low down and you cuss a lot, they looking and waiting and watching. If they heard that you've been whooping everybody, they looking at it. They want to see what's so good about you. How you whooping everybody? Your name gets there before you do. So Jesus' reputation had got there before he got there. And many thought of him as a great prophet, a healer, and a divine teacher. And they were drawn to greet him as he entered Jerusalem. He entered Jerusalem not riding in a chariot. Amen. Not riding on a cloud. Not even having an angel to carry him. But Jesus came into Jerusalem riding on not even a horse. But he was on a donkey.